everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I'm your co-host, Michael, and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be taking a look at Spidey comics from October of 1988.
That's right, and we are joined by G.I. Jolie.
Yes, you are. That's me, I'm here.
All right, woo! Can't hide the excitement. All right, and also Bex Luthor.
Some of us just got home from work, and it's a little rough to go from that to being excited. Okay, give me 5 minutes.
I'm excited. I want to talk about Spidey,
and let the
okay?
caffeine just
Wash
blaze
over
through me. Exactly. And then I'll woo girl all you want. I could go get some tequila if you want.
Oh no, it's not
that
that kind of party. Well, maybe it is.
Well, it's gonna be a special party because we have a very special returning guest in the form of Jank Mccoy, aka Kevin Jank. Thanks for joining us, Kevin.
Yeah, we got to bust that tequila out in honor of the Spider-Man going to Dallas issue that we'll be talking about later on.
So just for the listeners out there, you're in a different time zone. Right now it's 6:30 p.m. for us. What time are you in?
5:30 or ish.
5:30.
5:45.
You're
by the time we actually started.
And where are you calling from us to us again? From?
The Chicagoland area.
Right.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
G.I. Jolie and I used to frequent Chicago for the various comic conventions there. It's a good town.
I've been to many of them. Wonder if I probably passed by you at one of them.
I bet you. We were the ones carrying 100 comics under each arm that we then gave away to people for no good reason. Anyway.
And sold.
I was gonna say that's very rare.
Carrying 400 of those comics. Yeah. You also have a great aquarium, which is one of my favorite things about Chicago.
Mm. Oh yes, very nice.
And area. Everyone can say their favorite thing is Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water, but who doesn't love fish and sharks?
I don't even know what the first thing is, and I love fish and sharks.
We'll definitely have to plan a return trip one day soon.
Yeah.
Anyway, but until then, all we got to do is talk about Spidey. Sorry. Sorry. So this week we're going to talk about. We're going to start with Web of Spider-Man 43, Cult of Love Part 4, and Josh is going to tell us what this one's about.
Yeah. Okay. So we're picking up right where we left off last issue. We've a quick summary of everything that's happened so far. Betty Leeds has joined a cult called the Cult of Love after finding out, after the events of Ned Leeds getting killed, and she's on her own. She's kind of lost it. Spidey and Peter have kind of gone to this facility to check things out, to try and save her and bring her back. While there, he's also looking for Christine Cushing's sister that's been lost for years now, who joined the cult and she hasn't seen in years. While there was a fight. This really weird guy that's part of this cult is obsessed with fire and is constantly starting them, and actually at one point gets into a fight with Spider-Man with fire. The leader of this cult, known as the Teacher, performs these fake healing ceremonies where he'll rip out tumors or heal people of their illness, but it's completely fake, and it's just there to kind of trick these people into staying in their cult. This guy finds out the secret identity of Spider-Man and tells Peter, I'm not going to tell anybody, don't worry, just leave and be on your way. We don't want any trouble. And then the last thing to happen is Flash Thompson, who is best friends with Betty, joins with Ben Urich, the reporter, and this priest who was formerly a member of this Cult of Love. The three of them team up and they burst into the facility and they kidnap Betty Leeds and they bring her back to Flash's place and tie her up in a chair. And that's where we are at the start of this one. Okay, everybody with me?
Yeah.
That was just
Yep.
That was just before everything happens in this one. Essentially, what happens in this one is the priest is very adamant about kind of taking Betty out of this hypnotic state. So they're the entire issue, they're trying to reverse brainwash her essentially. So they're almost torturing her into out of her brainwash. All while this is happening, the teacher is looking for Betty, and because she's a missing person now. The guy with fire is like building something. We don't really know what's going on. We cut back to the apartment, and Flash and the priest are like shining lights in Betty's face and like asking her all these trick questions, and she's like completely hypnotized to the point where like she doesn't have any free thoughts of her own. They ask her like what her favorite music is, and she's like, I don't know, teacher hasn't told me what my favorite music is yet. So like she's completely hypnotized. We cut over to Peter and MJ's apartment. Aunt May comes over and finds the lewd pictures of MJ that she took from the photographer to apply to be a lingerie model, and she seemingly faints. We cut back to Betty, and again they're all kind of in the room trying to like bring her back, and then a bunch of members of the Cult of Love burst into the apartment to try and take Betty back, but they're all kind of like outnumbered. There's like dozens of them just against the three people. One of the goons ends up grabbing Flash and holding a knife to his neck to stop Peter from killing anybody else. So the priest is able to get away though, and then calls Kate Cushing. So Kate Cushing and Ben Urich now are kind of teaming up and going to this place, all while the dude, I can't remember his name, Bruce, he is like finishing his like flamethrower that he's built, and he almost gets caught, so he hides it under some blankets, and it actually catches on fire. We cut back to Aunt May and MJ, and she says something like, I didn't tell Peter about this, blah blah blah. I don't know, whatever. Aunt May kind of intimidates MJ into getting rid of the photos, and she burns them on the stove. We cut back to the cult. They've got Flash and Peter tied up, and all kind of seems lost when the fire spreads and is now kind of like burning down the building. Bruce breaks into teacher's office and pulls out a gun from his desk, and he actually tries to stop Peter and Flash from leaving, but Peter's able to kind of like knock him down and knock the gun out of his hand. The house is like completely burning at this point. We see teacher grabs the gun and points it at Spider-Man, but he kicks it away. He essentially says, in doing so, after he kicks it, it shoots Bruce in the arm, and he falls to the ground. And like hurts his ankle. So teacher says, keep going, don't worry, get those guys out of here. I'll help Bruce, and we'll get out of here before the building burns completely down. He looks down to Bruce and he's like, I'm not helping you, screw you. Bruce is like, no, you have to help me. And he grabs onto his leg, so the teacher can't leave, as the building completely collapses down and is burned to ashes. So unfortunately, Bruce and the teacher did not make it out alive. We cut over to the fire department has now showed up to take control of the fire. Everybody has escaped the cult. Kate Cushing is there, and she's finally reunited with her her sister. And when her sister turns around, she says, I'm sorry, have we met? And Kate walks away. And it turns out that was unfortunately the wrong woman. Kate's sister is still missing. So we're kind of left on a little bit of a sad note as Kate walks away and says, here, take my car and help these people out. I'll catch a cab and make my way home. And we're left on this great ending panel, and the last words we see are, you see, Peter, that's the problem with life. Not everyone gets happy endings. And she walks away crying.
See, okay, hold on. I completely read a different ending to that. I thought that was her sister, and she was just hypnotized into not knowing, not recognizing Kate. That's how I took it.
Oh, interesting.
I thought that it was a possibility.
Else read it that way?
Yeah, I think it's meant to be vague. Because some of the like synopses I was reading for this say that it wasn't her sister, and some say that she just didn't recognize her, so I don't think it's confirmed ever.
Okay.
It does seem like if it was her sister, she would at least give it a shot to try to deprogram her like they did with Betty, not just, okay, I'm going to leave you alone now.
And she does say it wasn't her. Like, I know she could be like, she wasn't being herself, but she was just flat out, no, it wasn't her.
Yeah.
So, but I can see how it could possibly be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
I
don't think so, though, because we see how shocked she is when she turns around and it's not her.
Yeah.
Before she even says, we haven't met, right?
Here's the thing, though. As far as like what's a better story, I think it's a more dramatic if she came all this way and then her sister doesn't recognize her. Then if the whole 4-part story was all based on, oops, wrong person, because to me that's a weaker ending, I think.
But the 4-part story was about Betty, not her sister. It just so happens to be that her sister was also a part of this cult, right? So I think it's better this way because we're kind of left on this bittersweet moment of like Kate still has this pain and is still kind of carrying this around. Not everybody's able to just like burst into a building and save their loved ones. Sometimes they're gone.
Okay. Anyone else want to jump in?
Yeah, I didn't think it was her sister either.
Okay.
I think
Well, yeah.
I like the idea that it's ambiguous.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I like the idea that it's potentially ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like it could be read either way.
That's the best. I guess that's the best bet is if it's ambiguous, right?
Yeah, because I'm looking at the page right now. It's like original 31, and it there are sort of like nuanced glances in the art that her face kind of projects that she might know, or she might be hiding that this is actually her sister. She's just pretending, or that she might actually not like it be her sister. It goes both ways, and we'll never know. I like to think it could be both.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's the best way. It leaves us talking about it for longer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Julie, I know you're a big fan of this. Did you like this conclusion?
I actually didn't mind the conclusion. It was maybe I don't know if it only made sense because I read the first 3 issues or the first 3 parts of the 4-part story, but when you have to wrap up the different storylines, it shouldn't take that much effort or be confusing, and it's not. There's not really much I didn't like about it, although I will say on the other hand there isn't like anything that stood out and was super awesome except for the ending. Like even when they're like unbrainwashing Betty, it was kind of, I like how it's visually represented on the pages, but that's about it. Like the Mary Jane stuff, like the whole idea behind the Mary Jane stuff is that she's doing it because she's mad at Peter, and then she just burns the photos and the negatives.
That was a little awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just because Aunt May said so, I don't think so. I don't feel like that's like a Mary Jane move. Like I feel like those photos are already sent to an agent and she just burned copies.
Well, now that Aunt May knows, she's going to tell her best friend Anna, so Mary Jane doesn't want that.
Yeah. Yeah, the interrogation scene in a way, something about it didn't work, and I couldn't tell if it was the art or the writing or if they didn't mesh, but it seemed like too melodramatic, and because like the art was really like the interrogators were in shadow, and then Betty had like the bright lights on her, and then like the big close-ups of her eyes, but it was a little bit over the top, like what's your favorite color and all that stuff, and then like the yellow, and I guess it was effective, but it was a little bit over the top, like what do you think? She's like, Violet, I like Violet, okay. I don't know, but I mean it was well done. It just might have been a little bit over the top, I thought.
Yeah, I think for me where the reason why it feels weird is because it's like Peter and Flash interrogating her. and not like a psychiatrist or something. Like, it just feels like something is. It just feels like they're yelling at her, and they don't really have like a direction that they're going. Visually, I think it looks really cool.
It looks, it absolutely is done well. It's very creative.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it
fit with. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
The panels of her eyes are that's a really great moment. Like, it's kind of like flat, horizontal lines that are kind of like framing her face, and then as everything is happening, it's like, and she's like getting more frazzled, the lines turn into these like sharp triangles that are like fractured and pointing everywhere, and then finally when she gives in, it goes from these like black sharp shapes to like one single smooth, soft blue, like calm thing, and she's kind of has like, you can see the relief in the panel itself. So that's really interesting, and it's refreshing to see that in Amazing, because
in Web, you mean?
In Web, yeah, because it's compared to how like interesting Amazing's panels and layouts have been. Mm-hmm. I particularly like the art in that scene.
Maybe he's taking a page from McFarlane then.
Yeah.
Jank, are you a fan? Are you familiar with Alex Saviuk?
No, not at all. Was he the regular artist, or is he just like a fill-in guy?
No, he actually did like Web of Spider-Man for like 100 issues.
Wow.
Like starting around number 35, he did like almost the whole run until it was canceled. So, and then he went on to the Daily Comic Strip and some other ones. So yeah, he's been a Spider-Man artist for like years. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, are you a fan of his art?
It was okay. It wasn't my favorite. It was a little bit Sal Buscema at times, without quite the style. Some of like the close-ups of the faces I thought were really good, but then a lot of it was kind of shaky. But like I said, some of the faces are good. That shot of Mary Jane was very good. Like that one.
You in the shower, yeah.
So yeah, there was some good stuff in there.
Yeah, like I don't think he's ever trying to be like, for lack of a better term, like cool or tough, like a Jim Lee or something. But his art definitely is suited to more kind of like Silver Agey type stories, or like he's really good at drawing women. Like he draws Mary Jane really well. So he definitely has like a 70s vibe to his art, and that's what I really like about him. And I think he used to do like Supergirl, and he did like Airwave and Green Lantern and stuff like that. So I think he's perfect for that kind of stuff. What about the script? Were you a fan of the script?
Yeah, this honestly was a story I knew nothing about. I had not read the first 3 parts. I knew that Betty had some rough times after Ned died, but I never knew that she was involved with a cult. So that was some new stuff for me, for sure. And yeah, I love Peter David. So again, I liked his writing here. The stuff with Aunt May where she just passed out and Mary Jane was like, "What's that thud?" Like, I like that a lot.
That was funny.
Yeah, thought it was very good. And, we learned a lot in this issue about being cool about fire safety. So.
Yeah. And I know you came in on part 4, but were you able to kind of follow what was going on?
Yeah, more or less. I think I got it all. It was pretty easy to follow.
Does it make you want to read more issues of Web of Spider-Man?
Sure, I guess. In as much as anything has ever made me want to read Web of Spider-Man.
All right.
So no.
So not really. Josh, did you give your review? Not really, eh?
I mean, yeah, kind of. It was a fine issue. I think maybe the weakest of the 4 parts, but I think as a whole, I really liked this story. Yeah, the stuff with MJ and Aunt May was definitely the weakest. Like it's such a weird subplot, like a weird way to end the subplot. To just burn the photos after everything. Like it was such a big part of the beginning of the story.
Good point.
I like how Spidey doesn't have to like punch the big bad guy to win the day. Like he is his own demise at the end of the day by screwing over like the last person he'll ever screw over and change their life. Now he's done. So I thought that was super satisfying. I'm glad it wasn't like a flamethrower fight, because that's what I was super worried about at the beginning of the issue. I was like, oh, great. It's just going to be like Spidey trying to punch the flamethrower guy. But no, I like that. I love the ending, that it's bittersweet. I like that we're getting like a deeper side of Kate, because she was kind of just like the big bad boss that would like come in and do like essentially like a J. Jonah Jameson like replacement while he's working on the magazine. So I'm loving seeing this side of her. So there's still some great stuff in this one, but as its own issue, I think it's a little weird, but I think maybe as a whole, it's like pretty solid ending.
Yeah, I gotta say, I really do like the way they handled the ending with the big bad, where he's kind of like, oh, no, you go ahead, I'll take care of this. It was just such an unusual way to end the story, and I thought it was really good. Almost like he was still using his influence over Spider-Man to kind of manipulate him in a way, right?
Right, yeah.
That was kind of cool. So Bex Luthor, did you have anything else to say, or
just two things really. I liked the Mary Jane subplot ending here. Actually, for me, it felt like the whole time Mary Jane didn't really want to do these sexy photos, and I feel like she just did them out of anger because Peter was pissing her off, and she's just really kind of looking as an excuse to like get rid of them. So I feel like the whole time she's like, Aunt May's like, you wouldn't want to do anything to embarrass Peter, would you? And she's like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to do this. I didn't want to do this to begin with, and like just doing it out of spite is not a good reason to do that. So like she just tosses them in the fire after Aunt May threatens to punch her, which is great. I do really like how Aunt May just unlocks the door with the key she's got for emergencies, just comes in, she's like, oh, what are these pictures in an envelope? Like,
opens up their mail.
Ma'am, yeah, don't. And then she's like, oh no, naked pictures of the woman who lives here. Like, yeah, that's not your business. That's why you don't just open up people's shit. And yeah, I like the art with the Betty torture scene, but my favorite panel actually is a little bit further down from the Betty anti-brainwashing scene. And I love me a good half Peter, half Spidey. And then that one where he goes, me? Well, I'm no hero. And the Spider-Man shadow? sick. Love that. I love that. That's what I'm looking for. It's just one panel that reminds me, oh yeah, Spider-Man's rad. That's all I've got to add. I don't really have... I like the story. The ending was fine. It wasn't like dramatic, but also, I think that worked really well. It was just kind of like a soft, like, is Betty unbrainwashed? Not really. Did Kate get a happy ending? No. Like, it's just like, all right, I guess we'll just keep going kind of ending, which, sometimes works.
It's kind of...
It's dramatic in, like, the not corny way, and the not, like, soap opera way.
Right. It's actually ambiguous, and it's also kind of bittersweet. So I thought it was a really good ending.
Because know that, like, in the future, Betty is going to now have to deal with this, right? So her relationship with Flash is, I'm sure, going to get strained and all that fun character growth we love.
Drama.
Yeah, there you go. So, I think we all recommend it, right?
Yeah.
I recommend it for sure. Jank?
Yep.
There you go. All right, we're going to jump to the next comic book. And that is Amazing Spider-Man, which, as we've mentioned, has gone bi-weekly for the summer of 1998. So we're doing 2 issues of Amazing. And Becca, you're going to do this one, right? Or no, you're doing...
I was going to do one of the Amazings. We didn't pick. Jank, did you want to do this one, or...?
Oh, it doesn't matter to me.
Who wanted to do Humbug?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, I'll just do this one. You could do Humbug. Sorry, not sorry.
There you go. Okay.
This one we start off with a sick cover with the Prowler on it, because when we were here, Spidey's in California on a book tour, and he just caught the Black Fox stealing some stuff, and then who else is there but Prowler? So like stuff's going on. So there's this chalice that the Black Fox want, and Prowler also wants it. So Spidey's stuck giving autographs because he accidentally ran into an entire ballroom full of just regular people when he was trying to run after people. And while he's doing that, it looks like the Black Fox and the Prowler are arguing over who gets the chalice. So he breaks in through a window. Even though he didn't have to do that before, but he breaks in through a window, and the Black Fox gets away, and so he has a little conversation with the Prowler, who has not been a bad guy for the last little bit. He's like been kind of rehabilitated. So, and he's got a wife and all that jazz. So he tells Spidey, he's like, hey, meet me at this hotel, and then I'll tell you what you need to know about this company named Transcorp and all that jazz. So Peter changes back into his regular clothes and tells MJ that he's going to have to go to this hotel room tomorrow. So he goes, and Prowler's not there. Shocking. We flash back to Black Fox, who's in a mansion that he has broken into for the weekend, and he just talks about how he can't wait to sell his chalice for however much money so that he can finally retire on the French Riviera. Back to Mary Jane and Peter is so upset because Prowler, like, lied to him, and Mary Jane's like, well, I'm in a bikini, so maybe stop being so grumpy. And then they frolic on the beach a little bit. Later that day, Peter's doing more book signings for his book, and his publicist surprises him. He's like, hey, I have a surprise for you. It's Carson. And he's like, we're going to somewhere? And she's like, nope, the TV show. The
Johnny
night,
Carson,
tonight,
yeah.
Whatever, yeah, her. Show him. The Tonight Show. And he's like, you got me a spot on the Tonight Show? And she's like, yeah, whatever. So then we have Peter Parker on the Tonight Show talking about his Spider-Man book. And of course, one of the guys recognizes Mary Jane and was like, we should have had you on the show. And I'm like, dude, Peter's right there. And then Peter sees a news report on TV talking about Transcorp, which is the corporation that Prowler mentioned. So he's like, oh, maybe this is my one chance to catch up with Prowler. And he does catch up with Prowler. And it turns out that Prowler's wife worked for this company. And they managed to fudge the book so it makes it look like she embezzled a bunch of money or did a bunch of illegal things instead of like the company doing all those illegal things. So he's trying to get records of their wrongdoing to clear his wife's name. And it turns out those records are on like a flash drive on a diamond on the chalice. Because then that way they could smuggle it out of the country easy. Sure. So Petey's like, you know what? I'll help you, Prowler. Because like you're a good guy, you're rehabilitated, you're not a bad guy anymore, you got a wife, turn stuff around. So they go to this Transcorp place and they get the information they need of finding out where the chalice is. So then they go there, and the Black Fox is trying to get away with the chalice. And there's a little bit of a fight on the docks. Spidey confronts the Black Fox and is like, hey, gimme. And he's like, all right, dude, you got me. Here you go. And then that's that. And then he gives Prowler the information. And then his wife's name is cleared. And then we see Black Fox on a plane going somewhere. That's it. Not a lot in this one.
Julie. What's that?
Not a lot in this one, eh?
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were stretching things out because it was bi-weekly and they were just, splitting one story's worth into two. Maybe that's it. My first impression of this is, wow, now I know where the design for Spawn came from.
Yeah.
It's so sick, eh?
Yeah.
McFarlane can
It's my
draw a
favorite
damn
part.
cape.
Yeah. I mean, the cape, the eyes, and the fact that he's black comes from here. I think that if Todd McFarlane basically read Son of Satan and Ghost Rider and combined it with Prowler, and that's how he created Spawn. But that's just me. That's just my hot take.
Yeah.
G.I. Julie, what'd you think of this issue?
Yeah, it's okay. It just feels like a filler / not a filler. I don't know. What was happening in the last Amazing before this? Does anyone remember?
Similar. He was signing for Webs. He was out of town, and he was
that's right.
after the what's his name? The Black Silver, not Silver Fox, Black Fox.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of just an ongoing storyline.
Oh, okay. It wraps up kind of strangely, I guess, because the Silver Fox was on his way to do some crime for some extra retirement cash, and like he really needed it, and then the Prowler really needed it more, when they could have just, well, I mean, whatever. He's stealing for gain. The Prowler is stealing to clear his wife's name. I guess Spidey chose correctly who to help. I don't know. Do you know what? It's a cool device to kind of foil the Silver Fox. Not the Silver Fox. You know who I mean.
What is it? Black? I keep forgetting. Black
It's
Fox.
Black
Fox.
Fox.
Yeah.
I keep wanting to call him Silver Fox, but anyway. Do you think that Peter's a sucker for falling for his trick?
Who,
I mean-
Prowler?
No, for Silver Fox's trick.
Yeah.
Or Black Fox's trick.
Yeah, of course he is. The reason why I was a little disappointed with this ending was that this is how every single issue with Black Fox ends.
Yeah.
Is that he's like, no, I'm doing this because I'm an old man. Don't you see? I'm an old man and I'm trying to retire. He's like, okay, you old scamp, get out of here. Just don't do it again. If I catch you, I'm turning you over to the police. And then it's the same thing every issue he appears.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was like, yeah, of course he lied.
Yeah. Jank, are you familiar with the Black Fox?
Yeah, I think the first time I was on this show, we did a Black Fox issue with like Chance.
Get out of town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Wow.
Become the Black Fox expert over here.
Yeah. You've probably read every single appearance by the Black Fox.
I hear Sony's
They're all
going to
pretty
make
similar.
a Black Fox movie.
Well, I mean,
That actually would be rad.
I think he would be a good
Probably.
villain, but
No, he's like an old man jewel thief. Like, I'd
Yeah.
watch that movie.
Like him and Black Cat are trying to steal the same shit and get in each other's way.
Oh, actually,
there you go.
yeah.
That would be
Don't tell
cool.
Sony. Don't give Sony any ideas because they'll do it. Right?
They will.
Jake, did you enjoy this issue?
I like the art very much. The script, I don't know. There was a lot of problems there. Like Spider-Man comes upon the Prowler, and the Prowler's like, "Come to my hotel room tomorrow, and we'll talk about this." Why don't they just talk about it now? Just get the fuck out of there because the cops are coming. But go talk about it on the side of a building somewhere. Like, why wait till tomorrow? That seems sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know how
point.
many like photographers with books of their photos are on Johnny Carson on the regular. That seems like
That's
they're
a
really
good
reaching for
point.
guests that night.
Yeah, it would have been more realistic to have him on Letterman because at the time Letterman was like, oh, this guy rode his bike across, New York. We're gonna have him as a guest. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. I mean, so is this the first time you've reviewed McFarlane with us?
Yes.
I think so, right?
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Todd McFarlane?
Oh, hell yeah. Very much so. Me and you have talked about him before on the other show, Flea Market Fantasy.
What other show?
We did Incredible Hulk issue, remember? From the Todd McFarlane
that's
era.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. So yeah,
Big
this
fan.
was like, this was maybe like a year or so after that issue that we reviewed. Now we've had some mixed feelings about McFarlane around this time. As we said, he was doing like, at least for this run, he was doing 2 issues per month for like 6 issues in a row. So as you can see, there's like 7 different inkers on this issue. So I think some of the panels look really good. Some of them look rushed. I don't know if you felt that.
Yeah, I know early on, like when Spider-Man signed in autographs for like Glenn Close, if you look at like that lady with the orange hair and the glasses, like I don't know what's going on there. But that view
That's
is
a good
terrible.
point. You're right. Digital page 3. Yeah, that's a brutal like haircut. I don't know what's going on. You're right.
That was pretty
But
bad.
yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, like even at the next page, you look at the crowds; they're all kind of like sketchy. And then the shot of Spider-Man swinging away at the bottom of digital page 4 is horrendous. You see that shot? It looks like he's sitting on like a stool, but just in the air. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed more in these 2 issues, particularly the next issue, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the art seems a little bit more rough this month. But thankfully, there's still some like McFarlane charm sprinkled in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, maybe he's not the first person to do this, but I love that he's holding the pen cap in his mouth through the suit. Right at the beginning.
That's great.
It's so
that
fun.
is really cool.
And then he's got it throughout this scene. It's just, I don't know, it's like such an interesting, fun little like thing. Like, yeah, of course he doesn't have any pockets in the spider suit, so he's got to like stick it and like push it through the mask, and he's like holding onto the mask and the pen at the same time with his mouth. Like, there's just like small little moments like that add so much to like a character doing something. And it's right next to that panel you're talking about, right? Like it's right next to the one of him like sitting down on the stool swinging away. But I don't know. I guess I've got a soft spot for him because of how like fun it is to look at his art sometime, and like how creative he is with the characters.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, we've talked about him a lot, but I worshipped McFarlane like a god when I was in like grade 7 and 8, to the point that I used to draw like a lot, like create my own characters and do my own comic books. And when I got into Todd McFarlane, I actually went over all my old art and drew more lines on it to look more like McFarlane. That's how much I love McFarlane, you know? Yeah, I was sad. Anyway, G.I. Jolie, what'd you think of this issue?
I already told you.
Oh, did you? Oh my
She went
gosh.
first.
Look at this. Proof that I have no short-term memory. Bex Luthor, what'd you think?
I don't know. Don't you want to just skip past me again? No, I
All right,
actually...
moving on to the...
Sorry, I got distracted by Mary Jane's bazongos.
What page is that?
Because, yeah, there's a lot of maybe not the best art in here, but he made sure to draw those. Yes, he was like, you know what's good? I'm gonna take my time on 2 things: the Prowler, because he looks cool, and Mary Jane in a bikini. Which, you know, priorities. That's fair. It's unfortunate that he didn't do that for Mary Jane in the rest of the issue, but you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. There's a lot of characters that you'll notice when they're standing, there's slightly leaning. Like, everyone's kind of like a little bit forward.
That's a good point.
Very awkwardly, like, just almost face planting. And I noticed that a lot more. But even like the panel where Spidey's jumping out the window and it's all shattered, that looks cool. So it's like, I feel like he was like, okay, I gotta do 2 books in a month. I gotta pick the panels that I'm gonna focus on, and the rest of them we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
So like when he pulls the mask off of Prowler, like that's cool. But then like the Black Fox stuff, he's like, it's just an old man, who cares? Just put a mustache on him and call it a day.
I thought his face had a lot of character, though.
Face.
Yeah. He spent some time on those wrinkles.
It definitely does, but that last panel is bad, dude.
Yeah.
That very last of him in the airplane, he looks like a silly putty man.
Well, you know, speaking of Prowler's cape, like on digital page 19, that has a great shot of Spidey and Prowler on top of those 2 light poles. Like, his cape looks so freaking cool there.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
With like the webs in the distance too.
Right.
Like, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely... And then the next page, look how gigantic Prowler's cape is. It's like 5 times as long as his body, but whatever, right? Who cares?
It's like Cloak from Cloak and Dagger, but this is just a regular man in a regular cape.
You'd think it'd slow him down.
Yeah, he was definitely influenced by Rick Leonardi, Rick Leonardi, co-creator of Cloak and Dagger, for sure. So
I think even if he drew Thor, though, like that a little tiny cape, he would still end up making it this big.
Probably.
Totally right. Totally. Yeah, I think the thing is I mean, McFarlane's so good at close-ups and extreme angles, but Yeah, when he's drawing someone standing there like cooking, eggs at a stove, that's where you see he doesn't really know how to just have someone just standing there and doing nothing, right?
Well, to be fair, it's comics.
I don't know.
You want them to be doing cool poses, not just making eggs. So if you got to be bad at one thing, I'd say that's fine.
You might as well be good at super heroics, right?
Yep.
I mean, you did miss a couple panels ago, or a couple episodes ago, where Punisher was just wearing a towel, soaking wet out of the shower, just cooking eggs, and I feel like that was the best panel of that issue. So sometimes you need to know how to draw the sexy men making eggs, just standing there. It's important, at least to me.
It was interesting to see different inkers. I know that if you have the original issue, the letters page tells you which inker did what, because there's 7 different inkers, but unfortunately, I sold the original issue, so I don't know who did what, but some of these pages look more polished than others, and some of them, that refinement is kind of welcome, because it gives it like that more professional polish than we're used to seeing from McFarlane in this era, so that's kind of cool. But anyway, I mean, this was not a masterpiece, but I still recommend it. Anyone else? Does anyone not recommend this issue?
It's not like the first thing I would tell someone about. I guess.
It's kind of like the 2 Amazings are probably I think they're the weakest of the bunch this week. They're kind of just flimsy.
Don't you say that about Humbug.
Yeah, excuse you.
And you know what? Why don't we jump? Let's because we're in kind of a rush this episode. Sorry, listeners, but we're gonna jump to the next issue. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Sorry, this episode's not 2 hours long, like the rest of them.
We'll jump to 306 with the return of Humbug and Kevin Jank McCoy. You have the honors of summarizing the plot for this one.
So glad they went twice a month, because the people needed this story to be out there.
What's
Thank
that?
God.
Yeah.
People were dying to get to the conclusion of this Humbug story. All right, so I think this is in a break for Spider-Man and his Webs tour. Peter Parker's kind of taking a break. He's back in New York. Spider-Man's kind of busting up some crime, and some news reporters want to get in his face and ask him questions. And he just kind of webs them right in the camera. And they're like, hey, that's not supposed to happen. This isn't a porn set. We're not supposed to get fluid on these lenses. And so
what?
It's web fluid.
So, and Spider-Man just leaves. He's like, all right, yeah, I guess I'm taking a break. And there's a cool shot of him swinging through the city. Classic McFarlane pose. So he's going back to talk to Mary Jane, while meanwhile there's this nerdy, skinny guy walking down the street. A bunch of kids are hassling him. And we come to find out that this is Humbug. Fresh off his other appearance, and I think he only had one appearance before this, right? In Web of Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Yep. So he went to jail, but they let him out for time served, because the criminal system's a joke in New York, apparently, in comics. It's like Gotham City. They just let everyone out.
Yep. Rotating door, right?
Yep. So then Peter goes home to see Mary Jane, and he brings her a nice rose, and she's like, oh, that's great. But then they get a knock on the door, and it's Mary Jane's boss, I think it is. This Jonathan Caesar guy.
This guy just lives in the building.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. I thought she was like modeling for him or something, but nope, he's just some creep in the building.
Yes.
Okay. So he brings her a whole bouquet of flowers, and Peter's like, oh, what the fuck? Like, this guy's blowing up my spot. And so he leaves, and Mary Jane's like, oh, I'm gonna go get the vase out. And Peter's like, oh, you're gonna put the bouquet of flowers in there, aren't you? She's like, no, I'm putting your flower in there, because I know what matters. So sweet. Touching. Black Cat shows up. I guess she was in Europe since that. I think the last time I was on was when she left, right?
Oh yeah, probably. She's been gone a bit.
Yeah.
Yes, she's been gone for like 2 full years. Yes.
Wow. Has it really been that long?
Wow, really? 2 years?
Yeah, I like a spectacular 129. So it's actually 24 months. It's crazy.
Wow. Okay. Well, then I guess she can't be surprised that he's married now, because it's a long fucking time. Yeah, she goes to find Peter at his apartment. Turns out he is no longer there, and she just kind of bursts in on some guy taking a shower and startles the hell out of him. So she leaves, and she's like, all right, I'm going to go find Spider-Man some other way. And then we cut over to Cleveland, where I guess they're back on the book tour, and Peter's signing some books. Oh, he sees something about this one guy wants his autograph because he's going to a comic book convention, and they start talking about this comic that this guy's trying to sell, much like Michael at a comic convention, just selling his wares. And
out of his
like,
book
I used
bag.
to love that one. So Mary Jane kind of clocks this, and she's like, oh, okay. So while Peter's busy signing, she goes off and she disappears. We'll find out what she's up to in a little bit. We get an interlude in my hometown-ish of Chicago. There's some big businessman. They don't really say what he does, but he's a big fancy businessman. And he's meeting with some guy, and all of a sudden that guy turns into him. They're like, oh, bet I know who that is. Meanwhile, Humbug, he is getting his costume on. I guess he tried to rob a bank or something last time, but now he's decided he's going to go after ESU instead, the college where he used to work as a professor studying insects. So he's going to go and try to steal from them to fund his research instead. So it's basically like they never fired me at all. They're still funding my research. So he breaks in, and he doesn't really know the campus very well. So oops, he busts into a girl's locker room. And they all throw shit at him, and he has to run. So then we get a shot of Mary Jane and Peter. They're back home already from Cleveland. That was very quick. Aunt May is like, oh, I'm so proud of you. You're going back to school and stuff. Did you get the application turned in for this, scholarship or whatever you're getting? Hardship grant? And he's like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to do that. And it's due today. Crap. So he decides he better get on that real quick. And so meanwhile, back at ESU, Humbug is breaking into, I think he's going to the art lab at this point, trying to steal some fancy art, or not the art lab, but the art, classroom, gallery. And so he's going to steal some art and try to sell that. Peter is on his way to ESU as well to turn in that application, and he hears all the hubbub. So he goes to check in, and Humbug starts shooting at him with his, insect sonic beams or whatever the hell they are.
Yep.
He channels the noises into a sonic blast, and Spider-Man reflects it back at him and knocks him out the window. But Spider-Man's like, oh, I can't let him die from this, so I better save him. So then they end up in Humbug, I think, gets away while Peter's trying to, save some pedestrians from cars that are exploding and shit. So he breaks into the entomology lab, his old stomping grounds, and he's all like, oh, I'm all my old bug friends. There you are. And the lady who's working there now tries to kick him out, but she's having no luck. So Spider-Man shows up, and he basically decides the way to beat Humbug is to grab one of the bottles of roaches that, Humbug loves so much, and threaten to smash them all if Humbug doesn't just turn himself in. And he does. He does real quick. He folds real quick.
Love that.
So then we go back, and they're having a party at that Jonathan Caesar guy's condo. Mary Jane is there. Peter shows up, and some guy's hitting on her. And then the guy decides he wants to bust out his karate moves on Peter, who just kind of catches it and fucks him up real quick. Then the Jonathan Caesar guy is like, oh, sorry about that unfortunate incident. You should come hang out with me later. And she's like, no, I got a gig on Monday. And he just makes some kind of weird threatening things in his head where she's like, oh, yeah, but then you'll be mine. So he's not a good dude. And then the final page, we're back to Chicago, where the guy who's taking that businessman's office is meeting with some shady people, and it turns out he's the Chameleon. Although why he bothered taking this guy's office and then just going to meet with people as the Chameleon, I don't know. What was the point of this? He just needed some office space?
So, okay, I gotta point out something very cool about the Chameleon. He has not appeared in the comics for 10 years.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah, so he hadn't been in Spider-Man since Amazing number 185, I think it was. So, nowadays they seem to kind of come back every couple of weeks, but back then, yeah, huge gap. So it was a big deal when he came back. So
yeah, I love the Chameleon. He's great.
Me too. I love Chameleon.
Now that the big threat of Tombstone is gone, now we get to deal with the Chameleon. Ooh.
It's cool because Chameleon appeared in Amazing #1, so he's kind of like one of those classic Spider-Man villains that he never really caught on as a big one, but I always thought he was cool.
Yeah, he was a big part of the cartoon show, so he's always been big to me.
Right.
He stole Burt Reynolds' face just to have his office? Why not? Yeah.
So the first thing I noticed about this issue is McFarlane is inking himself. So I found the art much better in this one. Much more polished and much more detailed. And it's a little bit closer to the classic McFarlane that I love. So I like that. And I think Humbug's a great villain. I don't care. The fact that he can access different powers, like when he's like, he's like, those deadbolts won't stand a chance against the amplified shriek of the meadow spittlebug. I love it. Why not? He can act. He's like Animal Man, but with insects. It's so cool.
So cool and like attractive. And wow, can I give you my number? Wow. Just.
Well,
That's all it takes for you.
It's interesting that most of them are just, turning bug sounds into sonic things. It's like you can call it different things every time, but it's the same power.
That's a good point. Yeah, David Michelinie's kind of like cheating there. You're right. It's the same thing every time.
Well, no, one time he uses electricity.
That's true.
Okay.
Mixes it up a little bit.
Sawtoothed grain beetle or the buffalo tree hopper. Bugs are really only good at like making loud sounds and jumping. So like
they could do some weird stuff though. They can like some of them can like spit weird like saliva and dissolve you and other weird stuff like that. Yeah. I also gotta say I love the dialogue when Spider-Man threatens to smash that jar, and then Humbug's like, "You really would have done it, wouldn't you? You sadistic, uncaring fiend." I love that. It's so funny.
And he was like threatening to blast this woman's face off 2 panels prior to that.
Right. It's great. It's good. It's fun stuff, right? I think.
Sure.
I thought it was a fun issue. I think Humbug is a nice break from the tombstones and the cults of loves and things like that. I'm not happy that Black Cat's back. That sucks.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
And not
she could just.
I think it's dramatic.
Oh, not only that, but they're just gonna play her like they played her before, which is as a love fool or fool for love, and it's gonna suck.
She's just hopelessly in love with Spider-Man, and like that's what you were before, and you left to get over that.
Yeah, and I just it seems like some sort of sick male fantasy the way that she speaks. She says stuff like, well, I hope Spider-Man appreciates that I came back for him. He'll have to take me back when he sees that I've come back especially for him. Like, wait, who talks like that?
Yeah, girl.
Anyway.
Yeah. I've decided to give him another chance. So that means he's just gotta be into it. I can't wait for her to find out that he's married. She will actually go off the deep end.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, she already turned into a bad guy when he dumped her. I can only imagine.
When he dumped her before she could dump him, too.
Yeah.
That's why she was so mad.
Then she tried to kill him.
Yeah. Also, Sabretooth was there.
Also, Sabretooth.
Yeah, this, I don't know. I didn't like this issue a whole lot. I thought the art was actually weaker in this one.
Really?
Specifically, the faces are just especially bad in this issue. Yeah, Humbug's all right.
I love the extra detail and like weird lines and caricatures he does. Like, of course, I can't find any good examples, but
there's that whole page where
this
they
panel.
introduce the Humbug.
Yeah, the Humbug page is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, when Chameleon first does that duplicate, like when the duplicate sees the duplicate, that's a great panel of the two guys staring at each other.
Yeah, but I think Josh is more talking about like his economy of lines. Like that is a great panel, but there are too many lines.
Well,
yeah,
that's McFarlane, right?
Yeah, it's like it I think the panel layout is great in that. The reveal is super interesting. I think more at the beginning, all of the stuff with MJ and Peter, half of the panels of like Peter during like the book signing doesn't look like Peter at all. His hands are like tiny and look like little sausages.
Oh, that's gross.
Like there's so many like I don't know, and that definitely appears in throughout McFarlane's issues, but I guess I noticed it more in this one. I'm not sure why. But
yeah,
you know what I mean? But I don't know. I think the issue was okay. I like the Action Comics references. That's pretty cool. Like we see MJ. Oh, okay. Also, first of all, this is weird. She says, "Just wanted to show you I wasn't jealous of the other woman, Tiger," and then kisses him after giving him like a Superman Action Comics book.
No, it's the first appearance of Supergirl, though. That's what that comic is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said
gotcha.
he had a crush on the girl in the
He has-
miniskirt.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
which is Supergirl.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. That
They
makes
just
sense.
can't say super. It's Supergirl.
Right. But the cover is like a full-on homage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
To it,
yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh,
so go ahead.
real quick, I love the splash page, the beginning first splash page. I love that. Spidey webbing up the camera, and we're like inside of the camera, POV of the lens. Super interesting. And then we cut into the action on the next page, going into like a regular page. The first panel, we see that the web is like falling down from the camera, and he's pointing like that. That is such a clever, fun way. It really feels like you're being pushed right into the story. Yeah, it definitely more interesting, I think, than seeing like a city shot. Spider-Man is swinging through the city, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Spider-Man. My life's not so great right now." Like this is a super fun way to start the comic.
Well, also, as far as the art goes, I love on Digital 14 when you have the close-up of Humbug's face, and then you see the shot of him running away in a really skinny panel, but then the next panel is a close-up of him again, putting that kind of like draping. I don't know what he's doing there, but he's kind of holding his cape up. Like, I love that whole page. It's great.
Yeah,
right before he shoots them.
That stuff with
Metals.
Humbug is really good.
Yeah.
And then even like the next page after he bursts into the ladies' locker room. All right, Todd. All right.
Yeah, I know, hey.
But
He
like
could have drawn that way worse.
that's
though.
true. I mean, that's true. Yeah, those two panels of him like, or I guess three panels, like he bursts through the door and then, or the wall or whatever it is, and then there's like a panel, he's in the corner, all the shit's being thrown at him, and then the other panel is him like just booking it. That's a really great moment, I think. Yeah.
He's actually, that's the thing is McFarlane, he understands humor. He understands how to stage humor. I don't think he gets enough credit for that, you know?
Yeah. No, his
I think he's really funny.
His paneling and storytelling is really great. There's also like a small little I don't have the page numbers, but it's right before the Spidey saves the cop car from and like puts in the fountain or whatever. Right before that, there's like the top panel in the page. Spidey swinging away from the building after after he sees Humbug is like blasting inside. The web,
Page 18,
running along the bottom of the panel outside is just, I don't know why that stuck out to me, and I really liked it. Like Spidey's like swinging out of the panel, and the webs are like outside going along. I don't know. It's just like small little things like that. It is just so interesting. I don't know. I like it.
Well, also, now that you mention it, okay, so now you follow Spider-Man through the window, and then the next panel, Humbug's shooting him, and Spider-Man is like doing like a
barrel roll. Not barrel.
Yeah, like a barrel roll, whatever. But it's just so dynamic. It's like Kirby. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, and as he's rolling, you can see the plate that he's about to grab for the next panel. Yeah, really good storytelling.
Right, right. Anyone else want to gush about Todd McFarlane?
Thank God he gave Black Cat her regular costume. Shout out to my man.
Yeah, honestly.
one.
That's true. She had that ugly thing last time with the shoulder pads,
She had
right?
the first ugly thing, and then the golden shoulder
Another.
pads ugly
Okay.
thing. I mean, she
Right.
still has her hair with the rat tail, which it's the 80s. That's fine. You can have that. At least it differentiates her hair between her hair and Mary Jane's hair. But thank God they just gave her regular ass costume.
I love the way he's drawn her domino too. It's almost like drag makeup, where it's just you can see most of like the cavities of where her eyes are and probably her eyebrows.
It doesn't hide anything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, that's my favorite type of domino mask, is the ones that are huge and just completely useless.
Yeah.
It's just to look cool.
It is kind of Spidey-esque, except it doesn't have the lenses in it.
Good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. Also, McFarlane does that awesome but technique where she's all in black and she just has blue highlights. Like, I'd rather see that than try to like be all cool with your shading and your muscles and just keep it black with blue highlights. I like that, you know. So Kevin Jank, are you gonna seek out more humbug appearances after this?
Oh, you know it. I'm gonna get them all, like Pokemon.
Because I'll tell you right now, there are, let's see, how many do we have here? Oh, I had a list in front of me, but I clicked out of it. But I'll tell you right now, Humbug does not appear after this for like, he appears one more time, and then he skips like 6 years. So
Whoa.
Humbug was hot in the 80s, and then he kind of, disappeared for a while. So
So they iced out Humbug
I
for
would
less
give it a
time
good
than they did
chance.
Chameleon? That's a shame.
yeah.
Humbug doesn't have a really happy ending, also.
Oh, did he die?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, spoiler.
He gets, what happens to him? He's like a host for the brood, and he becomes like an actual insect guy, and then I'm pretty sure he gets squashed.
I think I remember that.
Yeah,
That
it says it
sounded
right here.
familiar
He
now.
gets killed.
It's like early 2000s, like,
Oh, he's killed by Shang-Chi.
oh, that's sick. Shout out.
Oh.
Anyway, that's
My
too
man, happy Asian Heritage Month.
Yeah. Squishing bugs.
Kill those Z-listers.
bad. Well, I still
Oh,
recommend.
Shang-Chi rips his head off.
Oh shoot!
Yes. See, I think he's going to be in the next Shang-Chi movie. I think that's
You know what?
evidence right there.
If Frogman can be in She-Hulk, then Humbug can be in Shang-Chi too.
Yep.
There you go.
I love
All right, you heard it here first. Okay, so I recommend this one. It's good fun. Does anyone not recommend it? Oh, G.I. Jolie does not recommend this one.
I feel like
On the
Josh
fence.
is louder than me.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Again, if it's not brought up naturally in conversation, I won't talk about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
I'll
any
talk
of these
about
are like
Humbug all day
the,
long.
on the Spidey all-time list, like the Hall of Fame, but they're not terrible. I wouldn't avoid
That's a
them.
good point.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. We've kind of been in that era of Spidey for a while now. But anyway, we're going to jump to Spectacular Spider-Man number 143, featuring kind of the conclusion of an ongoing storyline. So there's been many subplots in Spectacular. One of them was Tombstone. That just ended. There's also been an ongoing subplot with the Punisher and Persuader, and this is kind of the ending to that storyline.
Thank God.
But anyway, so basically, Punisher has been missing for a while. So Spider-Man wants to find out where he is. So he lands on the boat that Punisher stole from a South American drug lord. The boat is, of course, called Golden Girl, as any South American would call their boat. So he beats the crap out of these guys who are on the boat because he thinks that they know where Punisher is. But it actually turns out they're just regular old, like, burglars. They're there to burgle the Punisher's boat, but they didn't realize the boat was owned by the Punisher, right? So Spider-Man's like, okay, I believe you. You're too stupid to actually know what's going on. See you later. So he lets them go. So it turns out, so then we cut over to the airport, and the Persuader has persuaded the Punisher to work for the Kingpin's organization, right? And so they're going to an airport, and they're going to meet. I can't remember who they're going to meet, but we get the first appearance of the Lobo brothers, who we're going to see a lot of in the next few years. So get ready for more of these Lobo brothers, okay? Yep. so we cut over to a meeting between the Arranger and Kingpin, and Arranger is trying to show off all of the stuff he's done, and Kingpin's like, "Shut up. You have a pathetic fascination with detail, Arranger." And basically he says, "All I care about is effing up Daredevil's life. Get the F out of here." And Arranger's like, "Okay, whatever you say, boss." He's like, "Oh, you're going to regret saying that." Now, here's the thing. For our listeners out there that are confused, last episode, we reviewed the Evolutionary War. Technically, this issue takes place before the Spectacular Annual. So we still have evolutionary, what's his name? The High Evolutionaries robots chasing after the Gwen Stacy clone. Now, Kevin Jank, when you read this, did you realize this was the Gwen Stacy clone?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I figured this was before that annual you were talking about, but yeah, because I have read that before.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so you're very astute then. That's good. So we get a little hint at that. That story's already been resolved. We don't have to talk about it much. So Peter meets up with Mary Jane, and Mary Jane's getting hit on by all these guys in a bar. And then he comes in and he's Mr. Cool for like 2 seconds, but then he sees Punisher on the TV. He's like, "Okay, you know what? I got to get out of here." And he ditches Mary Jane and leaves her by herself, and she's kind of embarrassed and she's kind of pissed off, but she's trying to convince herself she's not. But Spider-Man's got to get to the bottom of this. So he goes looking for the Punisher. We cut over to the Punisher, who is interrogating this, I think he's a drug dealer. And he's basically threatening to kill him and blah, blah, blah. And then the Lobo brothers. Oh, no, this is not the Lobo brothers yet. This is, Lobo's goons. So the Lobo brothers' goons show up, and Punisher flat out shoots them with a gun and kills them. Like, this is the 80s. There was all systems go in the 80s. Like, there was no censorship. Actually, there was, but for some reason they were fine with this kind of stuff. But anyway.
Yeah, RoboCop had already come out. Like, they were way past that.
Right, you're right. Yeah. Ooh, I still have nightmares about that scene when he shoots the guy in that office. But anyway. So then we cut over to Peter Parker. He's continuing his tour of the books, or the webs tour. Right? Is that what he's doing? No. Oh, yes, he is. He's still doing that. Okay. So then, he sees the paper. Dallas News, Punisher and Lobos connected to oil refinery disaster. So then we get this little explanation for who the Lobo brothers are. And we find out that they're these drug lords from South America, and they've come to the U.S., and they've struck a deal with the gangs, and the gangs are all kind of united. And now I don't know if there's anyone that speaks Spanish here, but it says here, all the gangs joined together, calling themselves Los Hermanos de la Luna. So does anyone know what that means?
Brothers of
Something
the Moon.
about the moon.
Yeah.
There you go. Brothers of the Moon. Thank you.
Oh, are they werewolves?
I hope so.
I don't want... Becca, I don't want to say.
Oh, so that means yes.
Have you read ahead?
That means 100%.
Well, it's the Brothers of the Moon. Of course they're werewolves.
Look at their
Maybe
faces.
they are,
Lobos.
Josh, and maybe they're not.
Oh,
okay.
They're definitely something. Look at they're either like vampires or something.
We'll see. What do you think this is? Twilight? Come on.
Hairy men with sharp teeth called the Brothers of the Moon.
Whose names are Lobos.
We'll find out.
Also, yeah,
You have to keep reading
Lobo
Spidey
means
to find out.
wolf.
I know it does. Yeah, that's a funny Lobo. And they're very. Not only that, but Lobo means wolf. But later on, they call themselves wolves. But anyway,
So they
Yeah,
must be
right.
vampires. Okay, got it.
Yes.
They're definitely
There you
mummies.
go.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah, I was
I
just
didn't
gonna say
get
they're mummies.
I didn't get any of this until just now. It was completely went over my head, and I was like, oh, that's why they kept talking about wolves. Get it?
Yeah.
So anyway, we cut back over to Peter doing his autographing, and he changes. He's like, "Oh, I got to change to Spidey." So he changes into Spidey and walks right past all these little kid cosplayers, all dressed up as Captain America, Thor, and Spidey. And then he tracks down this truck that's driving into the Lobo's like mansion kind of complex or whatever. And he comes across. Oh yeah, I love this part where he's like, "Oh, voices coming from the rear of the house. 2 of them are low guttural Hispanic accents. Another one is a rough street tough New Yorker. Fourth one, smooth, educated, Ivy League, New England. And the fifth voice, I know that steel-edged Queen's accent anywhere. Now, Kevin Jank, do you know what a Queen's accent sounds like? Because we're not from the United States. We don't know.
You know what? I don't think I
don't
could pick out a Queen's accent from any other part of New York. It all sounds the same to me.
All right.
Is it Captain
trying to think of
Queens?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but he didn't really have much of an accent.
I think they kind of dilute all their accents for the movies, but wouldn't it be cool if Punisher had like a hardcore Queen's accent?
Hey, I'm walking here. I'm killing all the drug lords here.
Exactly. There you go. Very accurate.
Perfect.
That would be amazing.
He talks like that in the movie.
Perfect Punisher voice. So we cut over
It's
to the Punisher.
still played by John Bernthal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As voiced by Becca's sister.
Yeah, I'll voice it.
All overdubbed by Becca. So Punisher is holding a gun to, like, we come in the middle of the scene and there's two guys that have been shot. The Lobos brothers are standing there in like Speedos. Actually, three guys have been shot. There's another goon, and then there's the Persuader wearing his supervillain costume, which is like white and gold with like a, what is that called? Not a bullseye, but a like a hypnotic twirly thing.
A spiral?
Yeah.
Spiral. And basically, Spider-Man comes in and he starts punching Punisher, and Punisher is like shooting, and then one of the bullets accidentally hits Hermano. No. What's the guy? Oh, Carlos Lobo. And then Punisher and Spider-Man fall into the pool, and they think that Punisher is choking Spider-Man and basically like knocking him out. And it's a really cool shot by our pal Sal with the Punisher holding Spider-Man down under the water. It's a great shot, but guess what? Spider-Man was actually faking. He's not knocked out. So now he's going to fight off Punisher, and he, comes up out of the water and like body checks Punisher, but then one of the goons shoots and hits Spider-Man in the head. He gets knocked out. Then when he wakes up, Punisher is standing over him with a gun. And remember, Punisher is being controlled by the Persuader. So the Persuader thinks that he can order Punisher to shoot Spider-Man, but Punisher resists. He's like, one more death, one more kapow. The gun goes off. Cut to the next page. Turns out he's shot the goon. And then he's going to shoot Persuader, but Spider-Man tries to stop him. But then again, because this is 1988, he shoots Persuader right in the chest, and we see the bullet come out of his back. No holds barred in 1988. Persuader falls into the pool, dead bodies everywhere. Spider-Man is like trying to convince Punisher that what he just did is wrong, and he's like, you live by your moral code, Spider-Man, and I'll live by mine. Actually, Becca, do it in your voice.
Nope.
Not unless you pay a double scale.
Yeah.
What if Feige's listening to this? Becca, what if Feige is listening to this right now?
Exactly.
Do you really want to lose out on your shot in the MCU?
It's your only chance, but
Hey, Kevin Feige, why'd you change Miss Marvel's superpowers? I'm pissed about it.
Ooh, all right.
Off.
This is like the Oscars. You use that chance on the microphone to express your politics, right?
Absolutely.
So anyway,
you're gonna walk up and slap him next.
Punisher's walking away. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So then Punisher's like, as for the Kingpin, his time is coming someday soon. And then we cut over to the Lobos brothers. And, everyone's gone, and they're like, for what he tried to do here today, meaning the Punisher. Oh, no, sorry, the Kingpin. The fat pig in New York must pay a price. The war of Los Hermanos de la Luna is not over, Eduardo. It is only beginning. And then next, Boomerang, who we all love.
Why?
Yeah.
Because he's so cool. He has a cool costume.
I like Boomerang.
So, yeah, that's the end of that issue. I personally love it. I think that's the end of the Punisher kind of storyline. I thought it was a good ending. I thought this was pretty cool. Obviously we all love the Punisher. This is this is Punisher's creator, Gerry Conway. So who knows the Punisher more than Gerry Conway, right? We finally get to find out what happened to the Golden Girl boat, so that was important. But I thought this issue was really good. I also appreciated the fact that we read, and not a digitally remastered copy, but like, you can see like the colors on the page in this, and it just looks great. I love Sal Buscema's art, but G.I. Jolie, what was your take on this issue?
I liked it. I could have sworn though that they referenced Mary Jane getting kidnapped by John Caesar.
Yeah. They
Yes.
spoiled like two
So
issues
that's-
like in a month from
Which
now.
means it's a spoiler, yes.
Yeah. So we already know he's a total creep from having read it just now, but also we would have read that in the same month, right? If we were reading off the newsstands, and then they is that right?
Well, as far as I know, we're reading them in chronological order, so this would have come out like a week or two after Amazing, which means if they're already referencing the kidnapping, then they're spoiling next month's books.
How rude! That I think that was the only thing that drove me nuts, is that they spoiled something that could have potentially been interesting in the future to me. Because, well, I mean, we all know that weird creepo is going to kidnap her. I just wish I would have read it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I gotta cut in for 1 second because he actually says Mary Jane's kidnapping by that creep Johnny Caesar a few days ago. Well, it says see Amazing Spider-Man 308 and 309. So that's like a month or two ahead.
Yeah.
That's really out of continuity. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And it wasn't even necessary. It didn't affect anything. So you could have just left that thought bubble out and it would have been just the same story.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, because now the way it ends up is, oh, look, Mary Jane's fine. Now she's in the bar. Now she's hanging out. So, but if they would have just deleted that, it would have felt like, oh, this is just before she was kidnapped, right? Like, you're right. They totally ruined it.
Yeah. Aside from like the high evolutionary thing that needed to be wrapped up and was kind of like slipped into here, it felt half natural. It didn't feel totally awkward, so it wasn't terrible. Yeah, this was fine. I liked it. Like you said, it's no holds barred. It's like Die Hard Bruce Willis action star level explosions. Like half the page is an explosion. That's like modern shit. I love it.
Yeah. I love it too.
Oh yeah. And where else can you get where else can you get mummy maybe werewolves and like a book signing and a runaway milk truck and a body a body filled swimming pool? Only in Spectacular.
Yes.
Like,
Right.
so this says
There's
everything for
something-
everybody.
There's something magical about this art. I just love it. It just transports me to another place in time. Kevin Jank, are you a fan of our pal, Sal Buscema?
Yes, I very much am. I remember his long run on Spectacular Spider-Man very fondly. I haven't read all of it, but everything I've seen I really liked. Especially by the time he gets to issue 200 and stuff. It was dynamite stuff.
Right.
I like that it's just a little bit square. And I really like it. It's very, it's very distinctly him.
Yeah, we should remind everyone, he actually drew Spectacular Spider-Man #1 and drew the title for about a year or two. Then he came back around 130 something and stayed on until 200 and something. So he definitely drew more issues than anyone else. So yeah.
He made it to the
And
Clone
this was
Saga.
around the time that he changed. Yeah, yes, he did. He drew all the way through that too. Yeah, I just love not only do I love his layouts and his master storytelling, I just love the inks in this issue because, again, you can see this is inked. This is not a computer. This is a human with a pen or a brush or whatever the hell he's using, but it looks awesome. I love it. What did you think of the script by Gerry Conway?
God, I thought you meant Mary. Like the author's name is Mary.
His wife.
I found out that was his Marvel bullpen nickname today. I didn't know it until today, so I have to use it. Gerry. Anybody? Kevin Jank, what'd you think of Gerry's script?
It was fine. It wasn't too bad. As a person who did a podcast about the TV show The Shield, the Lobos brothers, their backstory sounded a lot like the Quintero brothers from that show. So I'm wondering if maybe Sean Ryan might have ripped them off a little bit here. Very similar.
I think so.
Oh, they were not werewolves, so
Yes.
guess you got to take that
Hey,
out.
whoa. We're not saying they're werewolves. We don't know.
What are you talking about?
I mean, possible potential werewolves.
I
I
don't
want
want
creatures from the black.
I want
Everybody's
to pull them out of the
potential
werewolf
werewolf.
closet.
If you go to both Eduardo Lobo's or Carlos Lobo's like Marvel fandom page, there's one trivia point for each, and it just says Lobo is Spanish for wolf. Thank you.
That's all you're
So-
saying. All right.
Everybody's a potential.
All right.
This is like the J.K. Rowling school of naming werewolves. Just gonna call him Lupin and be like, he's a werewolf?
It's true.
Oh Lord. Okay, I got something to say here about this ending.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
Go
I
ahead.
really liked this issue, and then, wow, what a crappy way to end this arc with the Persuader. Holy shit, I hated it. It's so stupid that the Punisher's like, oh yeah, I just didn't want to do it. Hey, isn't your whole shit that you persuade people to do literally whatever you want them to do? What? There's no reason why Punisher in particular was not persuaded to kill Spider-Man. It's so stupid and so lazy and so anticlimactic. I hate it because this issue was so good. And the buildup of like Punisher ruthlessly killing all of these people, which he does already, but he's doing it like, he doesn't have any free will. He's doing this, against his will. And I was like, how are they going to do this? What's going to happen? No, he just decides not to listen to Persuader anymore. That's the conclusion of this guy that we've been building up now also for months. This guy has shown up in comics where before he was even the Persuader and didn't have anything to do with anybody. He was like showing up in limos and taxis, and we're like, who is this guy? He's a guy that tells you to do something and you'll do it if you kind of want to, I guess. That's a superpower.
Here, he also only made 8 appearances, and this is his last appearance. So clearly, I think Gerry was like, ooh, I don't know what to do with this guy. I think I'll just kill him off. And they kind of just forgot about him. But yeah, you're right. A very weak ending to the storyline.
Yeah, it's a bummer. We don't even see like Punisher really struggle with it either. It's not like we see him like, reeling in pain trying to fight back. He's just like, no, I don't want to.
Right. Well, even like the explanation that he gives, he's like, you put a fog. Oh, he goes, you never broke my will, Persuader. You only bent it. You put me in a fog, but hunting down the Lobos is something I would have done without you. So yeah, it's kind of a flimsy resolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I kind of buy it though, even though the Punisher, doesn't have powers or anything. I buy him as a very strong-willed individual who could, through all the shit he's been through, just doesn't give a fuck and could probably fight back against this kind of thing.
Yeah, I'll agree with you that if anyone was going to resist the Persuader's persuasion, it would have been Frank Castle, right?
Yeah.
So, most of these villains that are kind of lame, we always find out that they actually come back later. The Persuader does not come back. He is dead. This is his last appearance. Can you believe that?
Rip.
Well, they were like, we
Even with
already
that
have the Purple
costume, with
Man,
that
so what do we need this guy
hypnotic-
for?
Yeah. Huh.
And like, he's not even that good at the thing that he does.
No.
Apparently, if you're ready for him, it doesn't work, right? Like, I think he tries to persuade a ranger, but a ranger's like, nah, man, I know that you could do that, so it doesn't work on me. It's just like shitty.
Yeah, that's true. He did fail.
Just like,
failed before
just
too.
sucks at it.
Why wouldn't he show up and be like Kingpin? I'm the Kingpin now.
I don't know, man.
Look at me.
Like-
Look at me.
It's just
I am the Kingpin now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like it's such a strong idea for a power. Like it seems like this could really mess with Spider-Man and like fuck up his life. And no, he only kind of has.
He doesn't even
power
like
to do
manipulate
it. You know what I mean?
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know what it made me think of? What's his name in Jessica Jones? Purple Man, was it Killraven?
Purple
Kilgrave.
Man, yeah.
Killgrave. Made me think of Killgrave. Like, look what they did with Killgrave. They could have done that with Persuader.
Mm-hmm.
But instead they're like, oh no, you didn't bend my will. What does he say? Whatever his line is.
Yeah, you didn't break it, you just bent it.
Just bent it. It's just like, why build up a villain for 8 issues and then make him so ineffective,
Yeah.
right?
It like Becca was saying too, why didn't he shout at Spider-Man to stop? Freeze, Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man doesn't know who the hell this guy is.
Good point. And you're saying and persuade Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You're right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
And like, you know
You're
what?
right.
I think I would buy Punisher not shooting Spider-Man if he was like hands up in the air, he was frozen and was completely helpless. And then Punisher like fought off that urge. But Spider-Man's like punching him. He's like drowning him in the pool.
Good
And then
point.
all of a sudden he's like, I don't think I really want to anymore. Like nothing has changed in between Punisher being told to attack him and then him attacking him and then again being told to kill him. And he's just like, no, I'm not going to. So yeah, it's definitely a bummer ending for old Persuader over here.
Poor Roland.
Wah, wah.
It's kind of, once you get the Punisher involved, though, it's kind of the only ending there can be, unless you're Jigsaw and you just keep getting away somehow. But most of the time,
Right.
the Punisher stories have to end with somebody getting killed.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Kevin, Jake, do you think comics in the 80s were more violent or less violent? Like, at least superhero comics.
Than they are now, I would definitely say more.
Seems so, eh?
Yeah. Nowadays, everything's pretty tame.
Yeah, like you said, we're living in the shadow. They were living in the shadow of RoboCop,
Yep.
which, as our friend Ian says, is the most perfect film ever made. But anyway,
Except for the fact that in the first RoboCop, you could see all the cameras in the reflection of RoboCop. But they fixed that in the second one.
yeah,
Fun
RoboCop
fact.
is a celebrity. They wanted film of it.
yeah,
You could
So
see
anyway-
the crew in that movie, the whole movie.
that's fine. Technical errors don't count. So yeah, we want to thank Jank Mccoy for joining us. Thank you, Kevin Jank.
Sure, anytime. It was a lot of
Hope we
fun.
haven't scared you off. Yeah, we definitely want to have you on again in the near future. Maybe the next time Humbug comes back, we'll have you on. How
Yeah.
about that?
Or Black Fox, a.k.a. Silver Fox, a.k.a. whatever else names we had for it.
Firefox, I
All
think we
right.
called him at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Firefox.
Star Fox.
Yeah.
Hey,
we want
he
to
did
thank.
do a barrel roll. No, wait, that was Humbug.
Yeah.
We want to thank Bex Luther for joining us.
You're not welcome. I'm sorry I was there.
And thank you, G.I. Jolie, for joining us.
Okay.
And we want to make sure everyone joins us next week because we have another Kevin. Kevin Morris is joining us again.
Oh boy.
And next week we are going to be blasted by the boomerang. So be sure to
I
join
don't
us.
like that.
Say those words together.
You already get blasted.
We're also going to
Sometimes
experience
alliteration is not your friend.
the beginning of a two-parter with the Incredible Hulk, written by Peter David. We're going to have the return of the Chameleon on the cover. And we're also going to find out who kidnapped Mary Jane, even though it's already been spoiled.
Yeah, we already know that. And
Yeah.
we know
Be
she's
sure to
fine
join us.
also.
We know how many
Yeah, we also
issues
know
it's going to
she's fine.
take and
And
everything.
Josh?
She's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
No
Josh, you
question.
can take it from here.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this episode. Thank you guys. Thanks to the listeners. It really helps when you leave us a review over on Apple Podcasts, or you can drop us a line on Twitter or Facebook, or anywhere you can contact us where our podcasts are, over on YouTube at Comic Syndicate. Please let us know what you guys think about the comics we're talking about and the podcast itself. Let's keep that comics conversation going.
That's right. So until next Monday, see you later.